My next guest is best known for looking for romance in the Love Island villa, but don't underestimate Sharon Gaffka. She may be a beauty queen, but she's also been a Brexit advisor in the civil service. Now Sharon's bravely speaking out about her shocking drink spiking experience and how she's been trolled online, putting her profile to good use as a women's safety campaigner. She's worked with her local police force, campaigned at Parliament and spoken with Queen Camilla to help raise awareness about protecting women. And Sharon joins me now. So Sharon, we've met before, and you know, it's interesting that I'm always on here both defending and criticising the civil service. But you were a civil servant. You were in the department I looked after, weren't you? Were you in DCMS?
Yeah, I was in the civil service for almost 7 years, and I had a brief stint in DCMS, yeah. So
which is the best department in Westminster.
I did enjoy my time there. It's a very good variety of people, and I think, you know, there's different cultures in different departments, and it was one of my favourites.
And where else were you, sorry?
Cabinet Office, DEFRA, MOJ,
so wide range of experience.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, you and I met when I was putting forward the online safety bill, or knocking the online safety bill into shape. And I held a round table to get experiences from people like yourself who had been in kind of the public domain. You'd been out there through Love Island to talk about trolling and abusive commentary, and you had some awful experiences. And I remember once you told me about something you'd said and you just literally watched your followers disappear. I think you said you lost 60,000 followers overnight.
Yeah, I think that was Amber Gill was talking about the Black Lives Matter movement and how saying one thing can actually just trigger your entire following, and it causes you a lot of stress and anxiety when that is your income and, you know, your bread and butter at work, essentially. Yeah. It's like going into the office and saying one thing and then all of a sudden no one's speaking to you ever again.
Gosh, it's amazing. Tell us about some of the comments that you received online, how it affected you.
Yeah, I think for me, it's, I mean, naturally with Love Island, it started off with things that you said or you did on the show. People forget that. It's edited, it's 24 hours in an hour. Your appearance, my appearance was heavily criticised and still is to this day.
How could anybody criticise your appearance?
Do you know, I think people forget that beauty is subjective. People find different things attractive, and I think for me it was quite a lot of racial profiling as well. As an Asian woman, there's not a lot of Asian people on Love Island, so it's probably something they're not used to seeing, or Asian women in mainstream media anyway. So I think that was part of it as well.
So your latest crusade is on drink spiking, and it happened to you. Can you tell us about that? What did it feel like? How did it happen?
Yeah, so I was out celebrating a friend's birthday after lockdown. You know, I was working at the Department of Health at the time, and a lot of my friends are frontline workers as well. So it was like kind of our chance to reunite and enjoy a little bit of the old life that we used to have. And yeah, the last drink I had didn't go down very well. I unfortunately was found unconscious in the ladies' bathrooms and locked myself into one of the cubicles by my friends. Unconscious, not breathing, eyes rolling into the back of my head.
Not breathing?
No, like my friend's a doctor and she put her hand over my mouth, couldn't feel any breath from me whatsoever, which was really, really scary. I've obviously tried to be sick, and it didn't work. So I was taken to the nearest A&E by paramedics.
Gosh. And do you know what it was that you were spiked with?
So the consensus is that it was GHB, so a date rape drug. So, you know, we have an inkling of which group of lads it was that spiked my drink, and it would corroborate the story based on their behaviour if it was GHB.
And so what are you doing now to stop that happening? And in what way is your campaign kind of making that the dangers of drink spiking known to others who might be in the same situation as you?
Yeah, I think, you know, with drink spiking, there's a lot of victim shaming. People automatically assume it was my fault. You know, I took a drink from a stranger or I didn't watch my drink, but
explain how it happened, though. You didn't take a drink from a stranger, you just took your own drink?
There was a drink on the table. Obviously, there was rules around COVID about not mingling. You know, they were told on multiple occasions to come away from our table. Obviously, there was one instance where they were asked to move a little bit too late. Not saying it was anyone's fault apart from the person who put the drug in my drink in the first place. But, you know, I always get told now when I leave here today, I know that people will say it was her fault or she's talking about this again, anything for a little bit of publicity. And actually, you know, yes, publicity is a massive part of it, but in reality, if I don't speak out about it, it does drop out of the news cycle, and then people that are victims don't know where to look, don't know what advice to look for, what things they can do to protect themselves, or even after it's happened to them, what they can do to look after themselves and their mental health. Because I really struggled to want to leave my flat. I really struggled to want to go out again or socialise. And the way I socialise even now, 3 years down the line, has changed. Like if I've...
But you must be much more careful about what you're drinking and where you're drinking. Sharon, can I just move on to kind of victim shaming?
Yeah.
So, which you've explained a little bit about yourself. Do you think it's reported enough? Do you think young women feel embarrassed to report it when it's happened to them? And do they get any response from the police when they do report it?
I think that a lot of people feel embarrassed to talk about it. You know, you feel like it's your fault. There was something you could have done differently. And that is down to victim shaming. And I think the victim shaming stops people wanting to report. And also, you know, if you don't move within a very small time frame, collecting evidence on spiking can be incredibly difficult, especially if you're in a club or a festival where there's so many people, or not necessarily as much CCTV and things like that. So it's one of those things that was really hard, and I don't think it is taken as seriously, or if there is somebody that does take it seriously, they feel helpless. A lot of police officers I spoke to felt like they didn't know what to do. And the law, in their eyes, was considered blurry. So I would really like to see a single piece of legislation that completely outlaws it instead of it being in lots of separate different pieces.
But do you think the police, because we hear so many complaints, particularly about the Met, I mean, the police are not getting a good press just lately. I heard somebody say to me yesterday about a situation, I'd think twice before I phone the police, to be honest. Do you think that people don't report it? Because if it's reported enough to the police and it's shown as a crime figure, then Parliament will respond to that increase in reported crime figures. Parliament won't make legislation for something for which there is no data-backed evidence. So young women need to report it to the police for it to become a reported crime figure, for there to be the evidence to make laws. So do you think women are not reporting it to the police because they don't think the police take it seriously, or because they're embarrassed to?
I think it's a mixture of the two. I think that they're embarrassed too. And obviously with some of the negative press we've seen, especially on the Metropolitan Police, young women are scared. They don't know who to trust or why they should trust police officers. They just see a uniform as opposed to an individual person, which I understand and can sympathise with. So I think it is a mixture. And obviously I understand the need to want to report it, because then places can get shut down, licences can be taken away if certain areas are having repeated instances of spiking. So
there are processes in place to deal with it if it becomes a problem. It's just that there isn't, you think, a clear-cut law that says if you're found guilty of spiking someone's drink, there is a process that follows, which means you may go to jail. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I want it to be clear-cut. I want the advice from medics, from the police, as to what you can do to get evidence to be clear-cut. For example, I learned the hard way. I knew which drink it was. My friends knew which drink it was. If we kept the glass, the drug would have left my body, but never have left that glass. I never knew that until I started this campaign. Yeah. And also other victims didn't know that.
So talking about the campaign, if somebody wants more information, where would they go to? How would they find out who to complain to and how?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I struggled with. Like, I went on lots of different websites and it was pretty much like, don't take drinks from strangers. And I think the advice is still pretty much the same when it comes to looking for advice. So I think that is something that's I'm still trying to push for and trying to get lots of organisations together to be able to make that very clear advice.
Well, Sharon, really, I think you're doing a really worthwhile campaign and a really worthwhile thing. So good luck with it. And I wish you every success.